I can't think of two people who are further apart on the political spectrum than, say, Max Boot, who is an arch conservative. He was a hardcore Republican. He disavows the Republican Party now. But Max Boot over here, whose policies in the Middle East can be reduced to one word, Israel. There are very few wars that have come around, wars of opportunity for some pretty messed up presidents that we've had that Max Boot hasn't supported. He's a neoliberal internationalist. And when I say neoliberal, I don't mean liberal in the sense of liberal and conservative. Neoliberal economic policy, which is predatory fascism. But that's Max Boot. Now, I've been quoting him a lot since Trump and the Russians got Trump elected, because all of a sudden, like a lot of conservatives, whether moderate conservative or extreme conservative, a lot of conservatives have come to the realization that Trump is what he is. They knew it before he was ever elected. But the conservatives can see what's happening, what Trump is doing, how he's destroying everything he puts his filthy little paws on. So Max Boot over here, arch conservative. Over here, Michael Moore, extreme liberal, social democrat or democratic socialist, advocate for just about every social justice issue that you can think of, including a woman's right to privacy, gun control, registration, to make it easier rather than more difficult to vote, which I'll talk about tonight, what they've done in Wisconsin. Oh, my God. So Max Boot and Michael Moore. Far right, far left. But Max Boot 2 days ago had a column in the Washington Post entitled "The Worst President Ever." Today, Michael Moore, "This White House doesn't give two shits about you." That's from his Facebook page. So both of them, Max Boot says, he said, "Until now, I've generally been reluctant to label Donald Trump the worst president in U.S. history because Max Boot, among other things, is an historian." And he says, "I know how important it is to allow the passage of time to gain a sense of perspective." He writes, "Some presidents who seemed awful to contemporaries, like Harry Truman, or simply lackluster, like Dwight Eisenhower or George Herbert Walker Bush, look much better in retrospect. Others, such as Thomas Jefferson and Woodrow Wilson, don't look as good as they once did." Anyway, so he says, he wrote on March 12 that Trump is the worst president in modern history, not of all time, but now he's changed his mind. Max Boot writes, "With his catastrophic mishandling of the coronavirus, Trump has established himself as the worst president in U.S. history." He cites some examples that you and I have talked about before. Max Boot does. He says the situation is so dire it's hard to wrap your mind around it. That's the problem I'm having too. The Atlantic notes, quote, "During the Great Recession of 2007-2009, the economy suffered a net loss of approximately 9 million jobs. The pandemic recession has seen nearly 10 million unemployment claims in just 2 weeks, not 2 years." End quote. And the New York Times estimates that the unemployment rate now is about 13%, the highest since the Great Depression ended 80 years ago, right? Now, does Trump get all the blame for this? Goddamn right he does. Every fucking bit of it. Because of the way he's run his presidency for the past 3.5 years. And the way, like George Bush ignored the warnings about Osama bin Laden, the way Bush ignored that. And as a result, look what happened. Look what's still happening. But this arguably is as bad or worse, what Trump ignored. He ignored every single assessment given to him by intelligence agencies, economists. He just ignored it. Fuck you. I'm busy playing golf. Max writes, far worse, of course, is the human carnage. We already have more confirmed coronavirus cases than any other country. And you remember what Trump claimed on February 26th, that the outbreak would soon be down to close to zero. And now he argues, Trump does, that if the death toll is between 100,000 and 250,000, he will have been successful. He would have done, his words, a very good job. If the death rate does not exceed 250,000, Trump has done a very good job, according to him. No, it won't be a sign that he's done a very good job. It'll be a sign that he's a miserable failure on so many levels. I mean, it just sounds so weak to say that. This fucker is worse than a miserable failure. Because the coronavirus, Max Wright, is the most foreseeable catastrophe in U.S. history. The warnings about Pearl Harbor and 9/11 attacks were obvious only in retrospect. This time, it didn't require any top-secret intelligence to see what was coming. The alarm was sounded in January by experts in the media and by leading Democrats, including Joe Biden. Government officials were delivering similar warnings directly to Trump. A team of Washington Post reporters wrote last Saturday, quote, the Trump administration received its first formal notification of the outbreak of the coronavirus in China on January 3rd. This is 3 months later. Within days, U.S. spy agencies were signaling the seriousness of the threat to Trump by including a warning about the coronavirus, the first of many, in the president's daily brief. Trump doesn't read that. Trump doesn't read that shit. He doesn't give a fuck. The Post article, according to Max Boot, is the most thorough dissection of Trump's failure to prepare for what was coming at us like a freight train. Even Alex Azar, the Health and Human Services Secretary, on January 18th, briefed Trump on the seriousness of what was happening. That's according to the Washington Post. They write, quote, Azar told several associates that the president believed that Azar was alarmist. And Azar told several associates, and Azar struggled to get Trump's attention to focus on the issue. Can you imagine sitting down with this bloated fucker and trying to get his attention for anything? If it's not how to grab a woman by her privates or all the famous people he knows or how much everybody loves him. When Trump was first asked publicly about the virus on January 22nd, he said, quote, we have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China. End quote. In the days and weeks after Alex Azar alerted him about the virus, Trump spoke at 8 rallies and went golfing 6 times as if he didn't have a care in the world. And he didn't. Trump doesn't give a shit about this. You get sick, you die, you know. I don't like the arrogance that comes with a statement like this. Well, this is what I've been talking about for months. That sounds arrogant. But this is what I've been talking about for months. I mean, it's one thing to remind people what you've been saying over and over again. It's something else to gloat about it. I'm not gloating at all. I'm as horrified and shocked as I could possibly be. I don't know, as we're recording this, I don't know if the bastard had his coronavirus tap dance routine where he gets to slam the press and slam Obama and slam everybody else and shift the blame and stand there like the fucking idiot that he is. But I'm sure that today's coronavirus report will be the same as every other day. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. You want a coronavirus update? Listen to the governor of New York. You goddamn sure can't listen to the governors of Florida and Georgia. What a couple of assholes. What a couple of fucking assholes. And they love Trump. Hey, Truth Seekers, Mike Malloy here. While you're sheltering in place and practicing safe social behavior, probably catching up on the Malloy cast, remember, we have a new weekly program just for our patron supporters. There are other thank you gifts for your support. Remember, visit MikeMalloy.com and click on the big patron link on the main page. You can't miss it, and we can't do without you.